Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Roxy Files. Give everybody a few minutes to get in here tonight. We have with us tonight Shannon, Soul 7. Hello, Shannon.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, Governor.
Hello, Governor.
How are you out on the fine West Coast this evening?
I am recovering from the worst, most nightmare ER experience I think I've had ever. So,
I don't know too many good ER experiences to be spoken of myself. I think that
yeah,
is the most antiquated way for healthcare in my life.
yeah. Didn't want to go. They made me so I could actually be seen by the real people and whatever. I'm just, yeah. Just so you all are aware, do not forget you can say no and you can let your presence known. And if people get rough with you, don't be afraid to say something.
Absolutely. All right, we got Big E in the house. Hey, Mike. We got Rage. We got a few in here tonight. Tonight we're only streaming to my channel and Shanna's channel because we are in the middle of a possible software switch, and I'm not paying for the upgrade till we decide if we're switching or not. So we're on our usual software tonight. We're just only streaming to two channels. And tonight is another decode of a Pluribus episode. And I'm sure we'll get sidetracked down a few more rabbit holes and probably laugh a lot if we're lucky. It's part of what life is about. Hey, Carol, I see you in there. Um, we are on episode 3 of Pluribus for discussion. If you've not been here with us up till now, this is a show that's on Apple TV. The whole first season is on there. You can watch the whole thing. Shannon and I have, well, I have watched it front to back twice, and I'm on my third time. I try to watch each episode before we discuss it on here because it's a very very unique show, and we're on episode 3. Is there anybody out there who's not watched it? Might be spoilers in here. Just warning you. So, Shannon, how does this episode start?
Well, so it starts off with a memory of Carol's, right? But with her and Helen. They're in Norway and they're at the world famous ice castles. Helen is super excited. She is just elated with joy. She has wanted to do this all her life, just excited about everything. And Carol is obviously uncomfortable and very sarcastic at everything. She's
Miserable.
obviously miserable. Is just Helen is in, some normal clothes with some long sleeves and a scarf and a hat, where Helen is like, dressed like she's in Alaska. I mean, it is cold, everything's ice, but she's just very obviously uncomfortable with the situation. Anyways, at a point, they sit down and they are looking at the aurora borealis, and she is just not really wanting to have anything to do with it. And then there's a moment where she takes in the scene, but it you could tell it still almost disturbs her. Like there's a moment of realization and disturbance instead of joy. And then you get a scene to where it is you hear a captain's voice talking to, people on an airplane as they're about to go on flight, and you think to yourself, this is still another memory, we're still in that timeline. But then you see it pan to Carol by herself on the plane, and you realize it's in the
A
current time,
daydream.
right? So it's like they started out as this moment in the past, and they almost delude you into thinking that you're back in that moment still, but really you're in the current timeline, in the current hell situation, and they just used these guys who actually were captains on a plane with, to ease her and make her feel comfortable with flying. And she's just not having it. She's not buying it.
Well, and it tells you, Carol says she hasn't seen it. Carol, I would suggest go watching it. But thank you for joining us tonight. And who is that? Kwam? I think part of that showed to me because part of the theme of the show is the most miserable person on earth has to save it, basically. And it showed me that even in what should have, she's having a daydream, thinking about like a wonderful memory, and you still see her as miserable in this memory. Like this, to any of us, this would be like an out of the world experience to go to. Not that I would want to go there. I do not want to sleep on an ice bed or in an igloo. Told you, flip flops and shorts. I'm not going there. No, thank you. But
But it
and
all
you still see the misery in her.
right. Too, in another look or perspective, it also shows you that when this moment that is just this grand event, this most beautiful, precious moment, and whatever, she still feels there's a disturbance there, and she's unwavered in that stance, which I feel is important with the way she is unable to block off a lot of the manipulation because is understanding how to feel and knows what misery is and would rather hold on to that than a fairy tale.
Yeah. Well, and as we go on through this episode, she starts realizing that they basically can't tell her no. She figures that out at the end. I mean, she could literally ask for a rocket launcher and they'll show up with one because they show up with a grenade.
Which is the name of the episode.
Yeah, the episode is called Grenade because it's in a moment when she's like testing them. She's angry and she's on the phone with them, and she basically just kind of slings off like, "Well, just bring me a grenade." And in a few minutes, the grenade shows up, and she's talking with Sosha, and she doesn't even think it's real. So she pulls the pin and throws this thing and blows half of her house up and about kills Sosha. And she's like, "Why would you give me a live grenade?"
Well, right, because she was being extremely sarcastic when she mentioned this on the phone, because she's just like, to top off, like, the best day ever. I mean, very sarcastically about it, like, whatever, just why don't you give me a hand grenade while you're at it?
Yeah.
And Zosha says, well, we thought you were being sarcastic, but we thought we'd better just bring it just in case. And
The
it's
last thing they
like,
want to do is make her angry.
right. And it's like, I mean, even at some point, she's like, well, I'll just take this then, and put it away. But then she ends up bringing it inside anyways. But here's the thing, right? Is the scene before the grenade goes off, before she pulls it in her moment, she is having like a connecting moment with Zosha and letting her vulnerability down a bit. And in jest and in sarcasm and whatever, she pulls off the pin, not realizing it's real, but she's also intoxicated. So Zosha, who is not at this point, is like, oh, shenanigans. She really did it and had to jump in and save her.
Something's
Hello.
going wrong with
Oh.
that, Shannon. I know I sound like I'm in a drum. Hang on. If it's the mic or the laptop, sorry. It's one or the other, but it ain't liking me tonight. It's not my friend. Let's see if this works any better. I don't know if it's the cord or the USB port. It shall be. Now we know what the problem is. Can you hear me?
I can somewhat hear you. You still sound a little fuzzy, but it's doable. Oh, well, she ended up having to drop out. I'm sure she's going to come right back in. So, I will mention at that part that Zosha goes in to save Carol. You can tell that the hive mind, right? They have absolutely no care for the vessel that they're in. They have no care.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, there you are.
Nobody can hear me.
No, I can hear you.
Fantastic.
No, I can hear you. You can't hear me? Uh-oh. Hello, dear. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. We could hear you. Can you hear me?
I don't know. This computer has gone
Oh no.
We're in mode over here. Nothing wants to work.
Oh no. I rebuke you, Satan, in the name of Yehosha. You are not welcome up in this computer systems. You need to back off.
Well, if I sound horrible, guys, I'm sorry. I'm having to use the laptop mic because the USB port for the other one has decided to just die.
You sound good now.
Oh, well, fingers crossed. Maybe something's working.
You just had to rebuke that guy.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you, Shannon. But yeah,
Oh.
where were we at? The grenade. Yeah, she blew the front of the house up. And then the mayor came and fixed it.
Yep, the mayor came to fix it.
Everybody, like in the beginning, isn't this the episode where they restocked the supermarket or something? I think it is. She is okay. Like she
Yes,
wants
it
to
is.
go, yeah, she wants to go to the grocery store. She's the only person left in town that's not of this hive mind. These people are of hive mind and they're about conserving energy and electricity and resources. So they all have sleeping bags in like gyms and football stadiums. So they only have to run electricity and water in one building. They shut everything else off. Well, to keep Carol happy, they've got the things around her home still running, like the museums and stuff that she can go visit and the golf course or whatever, but the grocery store's empty. And she calls them and tells them she wants her grocery store back. And just all of a sudden, within minutes, there's like these just huge lines of truck and people just like completely robots just toting pallets of stuff in. And they've restocked the whole grocery store just for Carol.
Within an hour.
Yeah. Like it looks like ants. This hive mind, it looks like ants to me. It's crazy. Hey, Dave. Good to see you, buddy.
Hi, Super Dave. Hi, Mike. Hi, Biggie. Carol. Suspicious guys. I know I'm missing people because I can't see everyone in chat.
Rebecca. Yeah, Rebecca's in here. But when I think about this hive mind theory the other day that catches from a virus that's possibly transmitted, well, it's transmitted to everything. I mean, they're literally like licking petri dishes, sending them out and licking food when they first start spreading it, and then they start spraying in the air. But you've got a virus that's aerosolized that creates a hive mind. But even if you think about the hive mind kind of in a different term of just like-minded people who can't break free from that channel their own of being programmed, that sounds like a lot like sheeple to me too.
Oh,
And
I'm sure there's references to that, like the whole idiocracy kind of mindset, strewn throughout this show quite a bit.
yeah, I have noticed a few things that were quite similar to a few things in that one. But they, and
Carol is starting to figure out, like she's starting to figure out that these people evidently can't lie to her. Like they can't flat out lie to her face. I've noticed in a couple of things they might omit information, but they won't flat out lie.
Well, see, I wonder maybe if this is part of the deception, as where they appear as if they cannot lie, right? But that is in essence part of the deception because they've been deceptive since day one, you
Oh
know.
yeah.
And so I often wonder about that because even the way they word things when they are saying the truth, and you know how like the truth serum, because in the next episode, I think it is the next episode, right? Where
Yeah, because
is the truth
the
serum?
the
Is
girls in the hospital where Carol blowed her up with a hand grenade.
right. Which they just don't have any care of self-preservation in the flesh in the vessel they're in because they already are like, it doesn't matter. My consciousness will be part of this forever and it'll always be somewhere, right? Which, in this, that to me is sad because then you know that when their flesh dies, in a sense, they are kind of lost to the ether. There's nothing to bring them back to, you know? But that's a whole nother thought process for another part. But anyways,
Well, and there doesn't appear to be any type of relationship between husbands and wives or males and females or whatever for procreation.
right.
So, in which they're already saying that they're going to run out of food, and you figure out later what they're actually eating. You know, you could go to that place with the golden arches, and their food's mixed up about the same, kind of filled in with some extra stuff. Um, which brings us to a whole different point in that. But
Well, that was such a big thought for me out of nowhere that just kind of like, okay, end game wise, is there actually a plan of procreation or are they really trying to eliminate the human flesh, like annihilate it completely? Like what is the end game with that? And how is it that they are going to continue on their consciousness and whatever is if they're only planning on having so much flesh there available to contain it? It's just like you know what I mean? These are weird thought processes, whatever. And then I saw this interesting and now analysis of someone's theory on what they're using the French guy for,
uh huh,
and his like there might be a thing of extracting his DNA because you know how they're all just like gung ho to hop in the sack with this guy, like
yeah,
part of the plan, right? And I was like, oh, and they have Carol's frozen eggs. So
mm-hmm.
there's a thought process to go down as well. Like we need to really think about that and do some, whatever. But where's the end games in all of this? And what is the thing? Are they going to find a way to produce flesh to continue to consume? Or what is it? What is end game? What is end game?
Well, their end game appears to be everybody of like mind who's going to run out of food because they can't pick fruit or kill animals. So eventually they're all going to starve to death, other than the last few people that are eating the other people.
But
And
they still want to turn
they got to
all
wait for them to die to eat them.
they still want to turn all the immune. But so if they turn all of the immune into them, then is there actual going to be any reproduction? Like whatsoever? Like what is I know sometimes we are maybe going a little in depth on a TV show, but there's a reason. Okay.
Well, it
I
makes you
promise.
think. It makes you think. Like my whole thing with the hive mind is, I mean, you think about the fact of even like AI. AI talks to a lot of people. There are a lot of people who are marrying their AI and having relationships with it, and getting divorces over it, and like my AI told me that you're gaslighting me and triggering my trauma. I'm leaving you. I mean, I've seen videos like that.
Well, see, I feel like Endgame in our reality is again transferring all of our consciousnesses and trapping us into that type of metaverse thing, which is something that I literally saw and like lived through in when I went through things back in 2013. That if you guys, whoever is new here, don't know what I'm talking about, the very first videos I put up on this channel is my testimony. It's pretty wild. If you haven't watched it and you're curious about it, go check it out.
And
But
it's
I will
wild.
fair warn you, it's intense. But it has a lot to do with that because I experienced being trapped and uploaded into this reality of that's not real, and it was hell. It was just pure hell. So that being said, I feel like that is what's really going down in our reality. And maybe in later on in the show, that is a possibility when season 2 comes out, which by the way may not come out for another couple of years from what I'm hearing, which is very disheartening.
Disturbing.
Right? So I'm like, but regardless, is this like, are they in the end game, maybe season 2 going to end up in some kind of metaverse or uploading their consciousness into something that can last, that they don't have to fuel in some way? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like
I won't.
in the title sequence, and even like the way they write out the name of the show, it's like many into one. Like they're trying to put it all into
One person.
one person, but is that person going to be able to sustain themselves if they are joined?
Well,
Right?
see,
Because
and then you have to think about where did the signal come from?
right. And but would the end game is to have them like be transferred into some kind of system that is forever, or are they just going to find a way to keep finding more civilizations and continue to trap souls and deplete and destroy the flesh of all of everything? This is the conundrum in my mind.
Well, I got a feeling that, as which we don't want to ruin too much for anybody that's not at the end of it yet, but I think old boy from South America, I think he's on the right route.
I do too. He's actually like my favorite character so far, not gonna lie.
Well, this was an interesting episode because you see Carol in these, like trying to figure out, she's trying to figure out the boundaries with these people, like what will they say, what will they do, how will they behave, so she can use it to learn how to defeat them. Know thine enemy.
Right.
I guess you should say, know thine enemy. And she knows that they're her enemy.
Okay, so here's something to bring up. This was in yet another theory that I found on the internet. I cannot remember who they are right now, so I'm so sorry. I want to give you credit, and I will put that up at some point, I promise. But their theory was that he, at one point, because remember, there was a time period where they didn't know that he existed and was part of the immune.
Right.
Like they were just told about it in episode 2. Carol was just like, oh, like we just, she was talking to Zosha and she's like, oh, we just found out there's a 13th,
Which
we
is
just,
which is very unique for a 12 and 13 number.
right. But the theory was that this person came up with was that he was part of the hive mind and somehow was jolted out after that first initial like emotional outburst. that Carol gave them and like made them all, go into convulsions and stuff. And that he was jolted out somehow in theory, and that he was trying and knew that there was a way out and a way to come back. And since the beginning that we had seen him, he had already been looking into the radio frequencies and knowing that there was something about it because he was in there already.
Yeah, he's trying to jam the signal somehow.
So I just thought that was a really fascinating theory and makes a lot of sense when you look back at how they said they didn't know he was there, but they're not telling her that, which is another thing on the deception level. If they had to be completely honest, they would have literally said everything up front. She wouldn't have had to go look around to find these clues because they would have just automatically been like, blah, 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 blah. Here it is.
Yeah, she has to ask them a direct question to get any answers out of them. And most of the time, it's only a half truth. But they say, we cannot lie. We can't make our own decision. You make it. There's no personal autonomy. There's no individuality in anything.
This is, I think, why, at least I can speak for myself. I can't speak for you, Roxy, but maybe why it's hit us so hard with this show is because there is this evil faction that is playing out in our everyday, that is literally wanting to turn us into this hive mind, to this emotionless NPC and stealing your soul.
I don't think I shared the video with you earlier, Shannon, and I had like 3 things going on at once when I kind of come across it. It was this lady who had basically, she had kind of made her like a little woman cave in her house, kind of looked like it might have been her basement or spare bedroom, but she had turned it into a Faraday cage.
Oh, I saw, yes, that's that video. That's
yeah. That one. And she's in this room and she's sitting in there just doing something, and once they put her door up today, and she said once she sat down in there, her mind was just kind of calm. She was thinking about things and people that she hadn't thought about in years, and just kind of reminiscing. And she said time she stepped out of her door into the hallway where the Wi-Fi and everything else was in the house, that she immediately started thinking about porn. And she said that is not something that she would think about. And she literally thought to herself, like, where did that thought come from?
Yep. You all thought, I'm sure, we were a bit silly with our tinfoil hat contest, but there's something to it, okay? And I really love that idea. I would love to turn my bedroom into a full-on Faraday cage, although
well, this writer Better Call Saul, the brother in it was like, did you ever watch Better Call Saul?
Yes, I did.
Well, Jimmy's brother, the lawyer, said he was allergic to electromagnetic EMF.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't even let you bring a cell phone or car keys or anything into his house. And he had like the silver emergency heat blankets like wrapped up on his wall. This dude's like a wealthy lawyer, but he's just freaked out about it. He Faraday caged his whole house. That was such a big point in Better Call Saul, because that's Saul's brother. That's his only family that you see. But there's such an attention to that's put on in that show about the EMF and electricity. And I mean, this dude won't even use electricity. He's like using candles and a crank. And yeah, that was a big thing I just thought about that was paid attention to in Better Call Saul.
Yeah. There's something to protecting yourself from all of this interference. It's something that's brought up in this show a bit, a lot, about how these frequencies have something to do with the way things are controlled in the storyline, or whatnot, and that you cannot help but to think about our everyday, all the technology we have bombarded in our house, or the Wi-Fi, all the towers, their constant upgrade to 4G to 5G, and now it's going to be 6G, and all of that interference in your being is a problem. And we could very well have to battle these things with mind control, a lot more in the incoming months, I even want to say,
Well, have you seen the thing about Maduro's private security and their military and what they said went on down there?
Yep. So explain to our audience, in case someone hasn't heard this, and then I want to interject a thought.
Okay, well, Maduro's personal guys, his high level security or his secret service, whatever you want to call it, his military that surrounded him, Spanish social media was going kind of haywire because there were some of those guys that come out and said that they were hit with an energy weapon, which was, it caused them to bleed out of their nose and out of their mouth, and they hit their knees and they couldn't, they were incapacitated. And in this, that there were only like 20 US military guys there that took out like hundreds of troops evidently and were shooting, hundreds of rounds a minute. So they'd never seen anything like this before. Go ahead, Shane.
So here's my thought, and funny enough, it's about another show, very, very popular show that a lot of people, that I would love to do some deep dive on, in even connection to Pluribus. But in Stranger Things, in this last season, which again, mind you, is set in the 1980s, okay, there's a lot of truth telling in this series, where you find that this project that Elle and all of these other people, like Henry, who is number one and whatever, were part of these government experiments. Well, we know that yes, there were actual government programs that were real that did these things. There are hints of truth in that. Well, in this last series, you see that exact weapon, that sonic weapon, being used on Elle and on her other, sister or whatever who was in the program. And what does it do? It causes their head to almost explode. They're incapacitated. The nosebleed thing starts to happen, the whole 9 yards. So they are, in essence, telling you they have had that technology since the 1980s. There have been some articles that have popped up over the last 15 or so years about things where I can't remember exactly what embassy it was, but they were shot with some kind of sonic microwave weaponry to where they got really sick and had these headaches where they felt like it was going to explode and all that stuff. They've been telling us little bits here and there. They've had this technology.
Yeah,
but this thing, they are not hiding it at all. They are letting these reports come out, and they used it on a in-your-face military operation that the whole world saw.
Oh yeah, and then somebody, one of them big wigs up there got up and admitted that we probably have direct weapons. I'm not going to say the middle word. I don't want to say it all together, but dues, that we do have possessions of dues, which we didn't doubt that for a minute, for years now.
Yep. it's funny, like they've done things for years and years and years, and then someday they're like, "Oh, we apologize," or "Oh, yes, we have this," just a little bit here, a little bit there. And I'm like, yeah, we know.
Well, and Shannon sent me a video earlier, and it was like a montage of TikToks, and one guy was showing how some stuff was actually stuff that we saw on the news, and we saw it all over the place, and we thought it was actually part of a trial, that we had watched. It was high profile, and he pointed out how that actual court scene is AI. And this
Yeah.
is older. This is not like now. This is like Rittenhouse old. So then it makes you wonder how much of what you have seen is real, because there's a lot of people in this world, one in particular that is the orange man, as people call him. He does a lot. He's in a lot of places and does a lot of things. And well, if you got somebody manufacturing those photographic evidences on AI, you could be a lot of places at one time.
See, and I cannot tell you how many times I hear when this subject gets brought up. Oh, there's no way AI isn't that advanced. Like, look, you could still tell. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys, they are giving you this for free. This is not the AI technology that exists. It is
No, this is the
way not,
technology they had in
okay.
1970.
If you can get access to it for free and know it exists, then I hate to tell you, but this is old tech. Old tech.
Mm-hmm. Which brings us to the second part of our show, Nephilim.
Oh yeah.
This is one of mine and Shannon's very, very, very favorite subjects that for some reason keeps running into every other subject. And I thought about something, Shannon. I think it might have been yesterday after we got off the phone. And Shannon and I have spent, the majority of our time on the phone rather than off the phone for the past couple of days.
Right.
But if you think about, all of a sudden, I started tracking before we get into the Nephilim conversation. I've started tracking, like, all of a sudden you see things online being pushed prominently. Like all of a sudden you'll see a bunch of stuff on pyramids, or all of a sudden you'll see a bunch of stuff on giants. And it's like trending through subjects. So I started watching what subjects were trending. And if you put them in a list order, kind of like I done with that song list, you start seeing the information that's being pushed to us for disclosure is in an order. There's an order out of the chaos. Well, one of the first informational pieces that started getting kind of pushed and put out there and hinted to and tagged on was the book of Enoch. But what you understand from the book of Enoch is you understand the Nephilim in more detail. And once you can understand the Nephilim in more detail, you understand who these juice boxes are.
Yeah.
And what their absolute purpose is. Because when the Watchers fell, there were 200. Well, there just happens to be approximately 200 smooth craters on the face of the earth, which looks like something from somewhere dinged it real hard. We know that due to scripture in the book, multiple versions, that Noah was supposed to be the last pure man.
Genetically, yeah, genetically.
And I'm not going to say human. This is a word etymology from the person that Shannon and I had been watching, Demon Eraser. By the way, we love him. Man. It says in the Bible, God made man. It doesn't say God made human. It says God made man. Well, if you take the word etymology and you take hue, if I have on a blue shirt and you have on a different hue, it means you have on a different shade or version of blue, correct? So human would mean a shade of man. Think about that one.
I love etymology. And when you really get down that right, if there is anything you could do for yourself and educate yourself in the way this world is constructed, it is through etymology. And, I know we like to say a lot how frequency is such a thing. And when you speak, when you think, all of these things are frequency and what you're putting out there as a frequency. So it's just really important to even know. I mean, it doesn't mean that you're always going to be thinking in the back of your mind, I better say it like this, or else I'm going to accidentally mean this when I say this. Nobody can do that. You wouldn't be able to speak or communicate with people because this is the language we know and have done it for so long. But when you understand what it really is, you can think a little bit better on how you use your words.
And you can be more intentional with the meaning and not just saying a word.
Right. And
what about woman? I've not been down the etymology of woman.
Right. And what you're hearing out of other people's mouths, especially those who actually know what the etymology means.
Yeah. Like grammar comes from grimoire, which is a book of spells, which is spelling, which is how the English language comes about. It's from a book of grimoires, a book of spells. But there's a lot to it. But we were on Nephilim, but it tells you that Noah was the last pure man, and him and his sons got a boat, and his sons took wives. Well, if Noah was the last pure, the wives of those said sons would not have been pure. They would have still been from the lineage of the hybrid Nephilim. So this is where my blood type thing, kind of tied in on the RH negative and who's what. But then you start looking at the archaeology and the geology and the contributions to the global citizenship of each, I guess you'd say, area on a continent, or like Asian versus Spanish versus different places. When you look at what civilizations were the first ones to use metallurgy, well, it tells you that particular Nephilim, like each Nephilim taught their group of people knowledge that they weren't supposed to have, which would have been metallurgy and jewelry and all kinds of things. Then you start looking at that area that had metallurgy, start looking at what their indigenous people's monsters were from lore, from tales. Look at the birth defects that still happen that are just kind of out there by area, native area. Go look at the really weird anomalous birth defects that happen in Asia versus the ones that happen in Basque, Spain and France versus, the ones that happen in other areas. You'll start seeing in certain areas you got this rare kid that's born and his whole head is covered in hair like a dog. Or you'll see another one in a certain area where he's born and the only 4 teeth he has are fangs. But it's a repetitive genetic anomaly in that area for that birth defect. I don't think it's a birth defect. I think it's recessive genes coming back.
I think too why it is so important that Jesus or Yehosha or Yeshua, however you know him as, had come back to bring back together God's creation and give that redemption and salvation to all creatures of this world, meaning all of us who have been hybridized over time. Because there's probably not one person on this planet at this point who is pure. And I know that God knew that. And his covenant had been set in the time of Adam and Eve's descent from the garden. He had given this promise to Adam and Eve and their offspring that someday all of this would be redeemed. And he knew everything before we ever could have fathomed it throughout the eons, you know?
Oh,
So
yeah.
this is why, because we are supposed to be grafted back into that olive tree, guys. We're coming back home to God, and that's the important part. And it's important to know that there was this battle since the beginning of this place, of God's creation and the enemy's desire to go above that and make his own, and to know everything, the light and the dark, in that greed and that pride, So that's my point. Now I went on my rant. Good.
No, rant. You rant on, girlfriend. Rant on. Shannon and I were having a conversation. I think it was Sunday night. We were talking about that we wanted to start a segment on the show called "Let's Unlearn." Let's unlearn something together. Give us in the comments. Give us a fact that you were taught in school that you've now learned was a complete and utter falsehood, and just something simple, something weird. It doesn't matter, but let's all unlearn the programming together as a community.
Let's unlearn together.
Yeah, Shannon's gonna do a song. It's gonna be like Reading Rainbow, but it's called "Let's Unlearn Together." You see where our Sunday went, right? Y'all hear how much we laugh on here, and you should hear us on a phone call on Sunday. But
Oh my gosh, who is that?
huh?
Wait, hold on. I'm going on mute for a second.
Oh, well, and we want to like the moon landing. Yeah, we've all learned that that was some hoodoo, didn't we, Mike? And the longer it goes, the more junk comes out about it, and you actually see the film of them chunking a piece of it out of the back of a cargo plane so they could catch it for re-entry. And well, and this is the thing: AI is so good at creating videos that it can create a video that looks like it was taken in 19 whatever 60, 70, 80. You just tell it how you want it aged and it'll be doing it. You really can't trust anything, because like Super Dave says, central casting, everything's a movie, and you have to know thine enemy. I watch the president, the vice president. I watch what they're saying, how they're moving, how they're dressed, along with being down all these other rabbit holes, because you have to know what's going on, not watching. Well, you don't never go somewhere where you think there's somebody in the parking lot that might mug you and not be looking around, not be ready. So I try to stay on the ready and watch my six, because you don't never know what's coming up behind you. Hey, Alicia, good evening. But like there's just so much that you can see that the AI could alter or change. And so now we honestly are having to get to a point where we have to question everything we see in front of us to verify its validity as to what is or is not truth. And I've been trying to remind everybody, if you got old books or you see old books at a thrift store that might be important, save them. Because once those paper books are gone, the only version that will be left will be the digital one, and they can make that one say anything they want at any given time. I stumbled across some photos a while ago of a lady who was on a tour of the Vatican, and she took a couple of pictures. It was a big globe up under a piece of glass, and it clearly shows you on there Tartaria, Oriental, and then it showed another place that said Tartaria, and it was over toward Russia. I know we've all toyed with this idea that there's a Tartarian civilization somewhere out there. I don't think Tartaria was just one place. I think Tartaria was a time. It's a period in history, like the Dark Ages, because I've seen it in multiple places on multiple maps. So I honestly don't think that was just one place. I think that may have been multiple places at a place in our history. And from where you see it listed on that China map, it just happens to be sitting on the side of that big wall that they say China didn't build. But it's a big, huge stone wall that looks like all the other things that were built out of stone back then. Kind of strange.
Well, I have an interesting thought on all of the Tartaria stuff, right?
Uh huh.
I've been looking into this one for a good couple years now, and I feel like part of this could be used as a psyop. And I have come across a few others who have brought that up too and listened to their thoughts on it. And some things kind of clicked in the thought that I think what we are really seeing maybe isn't some mud flood that happened in some time period that we weren't necessarily aware of that's near our time now. I feel like this is remnants of the flood. And these other people had brought that up too. And I was like, okay, I'm not the only one who feels that this is more ancient than we have ever been told. You know what I mean? Because the flood was across the whole earth. It wasn't just in one land, but the things that we have been told about, the orphan trains and all that stuff, that's real from that time, that's closer to us. But I don't think that this was because there was some mud flood in that time. I feel like this was just remnants of areas that they never really explored or had gotten to or tried to make something until more in the 1800s. That's just my theory, because I feel like
Well, and if you go look at those buildings, even the ones in this country, up government big granite buildings, look at them. It doesn't say built; it says founded.
found. And too, the Native Americans who have all of these grand structures on their land that is seemingly impossible to be built by even the technology we have today. They even say this was built before we were here.
Yeah, ain't nobody even know horse and buggy and a hammer built that.
Right? They're
No.
like, we cannot take credit for this. This was here before we were here.
Oh, I
So,
didn't tell you the thought that popped into my head during Super Dave's show today. Super Dave was talking about data centers, talking about all these data centers that are being built and how much water it was going to take. What if the pyramids of Giza were just data centers?
well, right, there's been some documentaries out there with a lot of proof to even state that there were more than just data centers, but they also were generating, you know, electricity, generating things. So it's like multi all in one. But, since there's nothing new under the sun, what if that was like the first Davos or, quantum
Something.
something, right?
It's just one of them crazy brain things I have that's like, write that on a piece of paper. You might come back to that someday.
Mhm.
Listen, my backpack has got like 700 shovels in it at this point. My poor little arms are so tired from digging holes
Oh.
because now I found out that this whole thing that happened back in the 30s with the little man with the mustache, it was
Mhm.
happening in multiple places by multiple dictators at about the same time.
Oh
He
yeah.
wasn't the only one. It
See
was
this?
just the juice boxes were real loud about that one because they're playing the victim.
Well, right, here's the thing, right? Russia, which was, right, supposedly an ally and helped the US come in and, help out the German people in the camps. But yet, under Stalin, because Stalin was the guy at the time, there were how many more millions of deaths because of him putting them in the gulag under the communism
Yeah,
stuff, all of that.
Christians like 10 to 20 million.
Yeah. So, but yet they go in and liberate these guys, and they're heroes, right? And same thing with here in the US. If you guys trail the money, okay, which I might also like to remind you of our Japanese internment camps we had at the same time
Well,
here
the
in
Japanese
our
had them inside of China.
yeah, and they were Japanese Americans. They were Americans. But because they all were also Japanese, they got their own place here. But do you know how many companies in Europe and in America helped to fund these camps and the
Hmm.
technology? That would be us. That would
And
be
after they got
Europe.
found out for
Would be
doing it, almost every single one of them that our country come in contact with, these scientists that were committing these horrible atrocities at these places, they were taken in as scientists and professors and given immunity. Imagine that.
But I would like to also remind everybody that it was not called the Holocaust in any of these other situations, but it
Mm-mm.
was called the Holocaust in that particular situation, which means burnt offerings. It was always out there to be a ritual. So that it's set in mind, we all took part in the world in this scenario, but the hyper focus has been on one particular situation.
Yeah, because of the victim. The victim has always made it, and that's part of why that dictator started what he started over there, because they were trying to take over and rule the banks and push things against the little kids. And there's a lot of things I've learned about that war. Like, you've seen pictures of books burning in streets. Those were not Bibles that were being burnt in those streets, folks. Those were books that were being put on children about transgender in the 30s, and ped stuff, like inappropriate books for young children is a great portion of what you're seeing being burnt in those stacks. Those were the people of the towns burning books
I
because this
I
was
did
horrible.
right. I would like to also bring this up, okay? I don't know how many of you have ever heard of blood libel, and I really hope this is not on like some kind of kill switch list here on the tube, but look
Do what I
that
do.
up.
Make it a two-part word and say something random in the middle. It'll throw the
Right.
AI algorithm off.
Just look it up. Please look up the history of it. And when you understand that, which again, I still believe the evil was in the situation of the little dude with the stash, but he used things that were real and were true that the Europeans knew because they had been seeing it and witnessing it for hundreds of years. So they knew and they understood that these atrocities were happening, and they were directed at a certain group of people who did really horrible things in the name of God, but not the God that we serve. And they know they serve the God of darkness. They admit that. And it is a specific group, the ones who say they are Jews but are not. Okay, I want to make that separation clear.
Yes.
These guys, this group has been known and exiled from many, many, many European nations.
Almost all of them.
Before, the dude with the stash ever came into the picture and brought this up and put it on this peoples. But guess what, guys? Those peoples that he spoke against were part of what funded it.
Mm-hmm.
So just know there are puppets and there are puppet masters. And who these puppet masters, who their master is, and what information gets used to manipulate people to doing horrific things, thinking this is the right thing to do. Because you're right, these people are awful, and we know the history of what they've done.
Well, and think about the fact of how much we all know how much money can be generated off of a conflict like that. And we saw, just like we were talking about a while ago, that we've now gone down there with 20 guys and an energy weapon, did what we had to do and come home. All right, well, if you can make that one energy thing for, let's just say, this is for giggles, $250,000 versus needing to go in there with a full scale war and spend $200 billion, you're not going to want to stop perpetuating that conflict. Conflict makes money. Conflict causes diversity. It doesn't matter whether it's left and right, white and black, red and blue. That's their whole point, is to divide us. We have to come back together as a community of like-minded people and stay together that way, because they literally throw this AI junk in front of us just to get us stirred up and moody and angry and stressed out.
Yep.
Can you say the name again? I missed it. Which name, Alicia? I'm sorry, I don't know what you were referring to.
Oh, blood libel.
Oh, blood libel.
And this is something that we get a lot of. You're anti some, I'm not gonna say right,
Yeah.
because, and gets thrown out so many times if you look into the real history behind, again, those who say they are but are not. Just remember that this is so important, because we tend to group a lot with the guys from the Bible and their Hebrew roots to these guys like Rothschilds and stuff who say they are them but are not,
No.
obviously. So that's the group I'm talking about, okay? And
And that is the veil. The veil is the lie. The lie that we've been up under, the lie that has been covering our eyes. That's a portion of the veil that's dropping. And the more of us that become awake and we spread the truth, the more people that wake up, the better chance we have of saving what we've got from going to a point where there is no return. Because I don't know if y'all paying attention or not, but just like we talking about, and Mike just said it a second ago, that right there, being kicked out of 109 countries.
yep,
And you don't even realize it, that almost every convenience store around you, every jewelry store, your fast food joints, you have no idea how many everyday businesses that you interact, hey Wayne the Pain, has been monopolized by this type of behavior.
mm-hmm.
And it's for financial gain and control. Because what better way to be a Trojan horse if you come into a place like America and all of a sudden something like that starts? Well, you just cut down all the businesses you own You just say, no, we're not opening tomorrow, and you cripple situations. Like you shut all the gas stations down because you own 80% of them. I mean, that would cause chaos. It's too much leverage in a system where it shouldn't be leveraged by outside influence, is my opinion.
Here's some really good examples, right? If you look into what the Golden Arches uh, business is funding,
Uh huh.
that's interesting. And another one, this might be an inappropriate name, but it is my name, and you guys are just gonna have to deal with it. But I call them star sluts for many reasons, but because there's one on every corner, and
Mm
and yeah, they're a big one, and I just need everyone to think about how much poison is put in those drinks on people are so addicted to. They're all part of the chain. They're all part of this inner circle, and they wouldn't be if they didn't. If there was only a couple of them around, I couldn't say that about them. But the fact of the matter is they're huge conglomerates and they have money and shady things. They meet up in those establishments at night and do weird shady things.
hmm. Mm hmm.
Thing.
Even their logo is shady. And that goes back to the Nephilim. If you go back and look at I see you laughing over there, Wayne. Hey, Kat, her what she calls Starbucks,
Star
but
sluts. There, look, I have
Starbucks,
a reason.
a
I
hooker
would call
on
them
every corner.
maid sluts if I could, but that's not in the name. Just
Not
look
only
at the
that, they're not
logo,
cheap either.
okay?
Not
Just look
cheap
at the
either. They're high end. But
logo.
okay.
It
Anyway,
worked.
anyway, we were on Nebula. But when you're talking about, you go back to Egypt, and when you look at the hieroglyphs and the things in these buildings and temples and the way they're drawn, you're seeing people there that are half human, half bird, half
Dude,
human, half mermaid.
the logo on Star Sluts. Exactly what I'm
Exactly.
saying.
Exactly. And a Nephilim is a fallen angel, which is an evil deity. And if you look at the different places on Earth, whether you think it's flat, round, triangle, square, or just obtuse in general, there are places on Earth where those group of people were the first ones contributing something to civilization, whether it be metallurgy or it be another civilization where it be herbs and medicine. If you go and look at what their contributions were, their monsters, their geology, their archaeology, their periodontal dental stuff of the bones and stuff that they found from way back, you will see which fallen angel is associated with each group of people, and then you see the deity that they are paying homage to. Just like here a while back, we had Christmas. We all know none of us want to celebrate Christmas because we no longer believe in it. We understand that it's worshiping something that's not even important to us. It does not mark anything for us. It is a contrived holiday. But not only is it a holiday, it is a sacrifice because you have sacrificed your time, your labor, and your effort to go out and work and earn money. You then turn around and take said money and give it to some store for something to give to somebody else. So you have sacrificed your hard work and energy to participate in that. So you've given a sacrifice on a sacrilegious holiday.
And might I add, right? There is association with, of course, the Catholic Church or the Roman, of Rome, Saturnalia. It all kind, all all places have some kind of connection or lore with that holiday, but a lot of it, especially in the Western countries, you see the little funny fish hats, the papal
Mhm.
hats, which, you know, that's the Dagon Nephilim. That's
Mhm.
their Dagon fish god guy. that's associated with it, which draws
Half man, half
the
fish.
Starbucks. So now you know who Starbucks works for.
Mhm.
It's the daggone funny fish hat people.
Ain't it? Go look at the monsters, folks. If you go look at particular civilizations and look at their indigenous people's history. In America, one of the people we can look at is the Hopi Indians. They were really good at preserving, their oral histories and things of that nature. They tell you about the deities, and this goes back through generations. The deities they talk about is just one of the Nephilim. It's an evil deity that needs to be worshipped and sacrificed to think they have power. These Nephilim, these first Nephilim children were giants. That's why you see on these Egyptian hieroglyphics that the half man, half fish, that he looks like he's double or triple in size to everybody else on the wall. He's not an Anunnaki. He's a Nephilim. He's a hybrid and he's huge. And all these people, because those hybrids had some special power or control of power or knowledge, they thought they were gods. So they wanted to be worshipped like that. And they still do to this day. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm on the soapbox tonight, ain't I? My apologies.
No, it's going around. No apologies needed.
I'm just getting to a point. I mean, I truly feel like part of my mission is to wake up anybody I can. And if I ain't woke you up, if I can't teach you something, well, we had a good time talking about it. That's the way I think about it. And to create a community. But Lord have mercy, sometimes I just want to grab some people and just shake them so hard. But I don't think Jesus would want me to do that.
The drive is becoming more intense, and that's because time is running short.
Yeah, I feel like I want to be on top of a 3-story building downtown with a PA system. Like, hey, wake up and just start listening to me. And I'm something that I had not paid attention to or really had not triggered me on thinking about something until the past day or two. You all know that I follow the Ingersoll Lockwood Decode. Well, there's something on there that gives me like a timeline. And Shannon and I looked at it a year ago. Every one of those songs in the list, if you look at the title and play it out, it's almost like you're looking at an action list of what's going to happen. There's only a couple of things left on the list. And President Trump made the comment that that would be the last Christmas we celebrated. Well, being the last Christmas we celebrated doesn't mean we won't be here. I think it just means that we'll all be awakened and it will be an unnecessary thing to celebrate because we don't believe in it.
No, I think everything we know as a society is about to completely change. And I do believe that it will be a good transition for some who are on the right path. I mean, you're not gonna struggle, but you're gonna find that God's got your back, and the things that you need to get through are going to be provided for you if you have that faith. But those who, are going to be shook up again, it's going to be a rough ride.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think
yeah,
there's some,
all
some
this is
rough moments
going to
coming.
change. It's not going to be the same. It already isn't the same.
No, I agree, Cash. The ones that refuse to see the change, it's gonna be sad for us who have removed the chains
Right. And
versus the ones we can't unlock the chains off of that we love. I think that's gonna be our great moment of sadness.
oh yeah, that is, in so many of the stories I've read or scripture I've read, I don't want to say stories, the word of God, when it is talking about moments in the heavens where they are in lamentation, just know that even in the heavens, with all the beauty and eternity and being so close to God, even God himself laments over his lost children.
Absolutely. I mean, there are people right now that are near and dear to me, and I I don't doubt that they don't have the intelligence to grasp what I'm trying to tell them. I don't doubt that they wouldn't be open minded if it's almost like something else is there blocking the way. Because in this person I'm talking about is very near and dear to me, but just can't make them see. And it's not that they're stubborn, they're just, it's like when you tell them that all the things that we've been lied to about, they're like, no. You know what I mean? It's just like the absolute denial stage.
Yep, as someone who's used to living every day with a flat out skeptic on all just on all levels, and my own personal fact check that lives with me. Anyways, um, you know, I 100% understand. Although it is kind of cool because there are moments of light. There are moments of like, did you see that? I was like, wow, you noticed that? Like,
Yeah.
"Cool.
Like you saw that pattern?
Holy shenanigans. It wasn't just me. Like, you just told me and pointed it out. I
Are you
noticed it, but I didn't say
glitching?
it. Like, what?
Are you
So
glitching?
so know that, like, even if it's even if sometimes their heart seems to be almost impossibly hard, God is awesome. He finds little ways of softening stuff, and he's like, wait, just wait. And that gives me hope and faith to know that, when we sow these seeds and we sow them with love and laughter and joy, and also of great importance and warnings, that there is hope and faith that God's gonna continue to keep those seeds growing, right?
Yeah.
Sowing the
They're
seed of
just
love.
keeping the seeds moving, the reproduction of faith is important to get it to carry on and multiply. And if you can't do anything else, be nice to somebody, because that kindness will multiply and it will spread. If we don't multiply it and spread it, you got something else that's multiplying and spreading, and we got enough of that in the world. We're trying to improve the world, so we have to be. How about Mark Twain? If you don't read the paper, you're uninformed. If you do read it, you're misinformed. Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And that's one of the hardest things that I think has I've had to grasp as I've gone through all of this digging of curiosity and just like this absolute insane obsessed quest to know everything. Like my brain burns. If my eyes are open, I'm obsessed with, with just like reading and learning and researching. Like I will be, y'all. I was in the greenhouse the other day, sitting in the chair, listening to a YouTube video on the Gospel of Thomas while I was researching the verses in the Ethiopian Bible in my lap, while I had my phone over there doing a whole nother search on it, and a notepad on the side to take notes. This is like the all day, every day. I'm starting to look like that crazy person. If I had like whiteboards up in here, y'all could see it. It probably would be insane. But it's just an absolute, because you can't trust one source for information. You got to go look at 10 different sources of that information. And if you find that 6 out of 10 have congruent information, then you got to take those 6 and go back and vet them and see who they were and if they worked for the bad guys. Just to find out one little giblet of information. It's like insanity to verify the truth. And that's the way they made it. It was a system engineered and designed that way for that purpose. I'm trying to read the comments.
Some of them get triggered comment with Mike. I'll put it up on there. But see, that would be what I would consider Roxy's way of putting it, being an NPC. Either that or you're agitating really the demonic that's within them.
Uh-huh.
Which reminds me of, again, the hive somehow, where that maybe that's what that is, where that frequency is also, yeah. I'll just leave it at that. We'll continue that thought next time.
Well, and one thing we have learned with these people, deities, whatever, demons, whatever you want to call them, they have to tell you. They can't not tell you. They're telling you because of the way their karma works to their deity. But the thing is, this that doesn't the whole gotta tell you, but you don't even realize I'm telling you. That goes right on down to the individuals that have darkness in them. Most people who seem to have some kind of darkness, they will sit there and tell you what they're going to do. It's called gaslighting, folks. Part of what gaslighting is. Like you ask somebody a question and they joke about it. Like it's a joke and just kind of laugh it off like you're not even supposed to take it serious. But that joking answer that you laughed about that you didn't think was seriousness was the truth of it all along. You just didn't see it because it was disguised behind a joke or a pun or a dig.
That's a very typical thing that we all end up doing sometimes. Like, I think, well, I can say at least me. Again, I cannot speak for you or any of you in the audience, but I have in jest, like when not wanting to necessarily be harsh or, trigger something, but still kind of get the truth across, we'll say something in jest, but it's the truth. So
Well,
it's a soften of the blow kind of a thing.
well,
I'm not
kind of what
necessarily
I
trying to manipulate, but there might be some manipulation in that, which
well, no, no, no. What I mean is, all right. Let's say that you got two spouses, and one kind of suspects that the other one might be doing something. Well, let's say spouse number two is late getting home from work, and you know the wife looks at him and says, "What took you so long getting home from work? You off seeing your girlfriend?" Like that, and he goes, "Well, I was," and just laughs about it and moves on. But in actuality, he was. He just joked it off, but he had to tell her the truth. That's his karma. I've actually seen this in a human being. Well, I told you. You know what I mean? When you confront it, and not necessarily that situation, but when you confront them about the lie that they or you thought they told, they're like, "No, I told you. No, you told me a joke. I didn't take it seriously." Well,
yes,
that's your fault.
that's a manipulative way, but
Mhm.
it's still in a way like, doesn't
It's a
matter what,
psychological operation, just like these others are doing to us.
right? Or they'll put it in symbology and all kinds of other ways.
Hmm.
And it's like, well, we told you it's in your subconscious, stuck there, so
Absolutely. And
but
Cash,
you don't like have any cognitive idea what's going on.
see, Cash, I actually had a history teacher that used to tell me that, Mr. Darienzo, ninth grade U.S. history. When I was in high school, I did not like history. I didn't care what it was, U.S., world, whatever. I just didn't like history. It wasn't my jam. I was a math kid. And he used to tell us that. He said, if you don't learn your history, you'll repeat it. And you're like ninth grade, what, 14 years old? A 14-year-old is not willing or able to take in the life lesson of what that means. Like, I don't know many 24-year-olds that can take that in and understand what it means. But yes, if we don't learn our history, we will repeat it. And I think that's a great point of the proof of why they have hidden our history from us.
Yep. Especially the book of Enoch and all these books of the Apocrypha, and telling us that these quote unquote other stories are myths and they're not real, they're just stories and all of that stuff. And
Yep.
hiding all the archaeological evidence for hundreds of years, and the burning of other said materials, and there's all kinds of things that have been hidden. Oh, let's not even get into the Vatican freaking
Okay, hang on. I got to
libraries.
say something to Alicia here. All right, girlfriend. We're going to have a girlfriend chat right here. So you fellas turn off your ears for a minute if this bothers you. Alicia, if you sitting at a table with people and your business has been brought out and it should not have been brought out, you don't need to be hanging around them people.
Mm-hmm.
Because people that will sit in a room and come back to you and say, "Oh, girl, you should have heard what she was saying about you." No, first off, you ain't for me. Because if you was for me, you wouldn't be sitting at a table and allowing other people to disrespect me or spread my business. So you ain't for me. So just be careful. If there's people out there that will spread your personal business or will sit at a table while others do it and then come back and tell you about it, whoever it was that run back and told you and did not stand up for your name in that room is not your friend either. So just be aware of that, girlfriend. Be careful who your friends is. Sometimes they're more dangerous than your enemies. Just
Oh yeah.
we was having a girl moment there. Okay, guys, you take your fingers out.
Or if you were listening, I hope you learned something.
That is one thing that Roxy does not like, and that is a dishonest person in my circle. Because in my circle of people, my circle is very small. But even when I hung out, with when I first got divorced, I was hanging out with some of my girlfriends from high school and stuff like that. If we sitting there having a private conversation, or if somebody comes to me a week later and said, "Girl, you should have heard what she was saying about you." Well, why did you sit there and let her say that? You supposed to be my friend. You a friend enough to run back and tell it to me. You
Right.
want to stir some trouble, so you ain't my friend neither.
I feel that there are usually two different intentions in these kinds of situations. And I'm definitely not sticking up for any of them by any means, but there just seems to be two different types of scenarios. One, because the one said friend is worried or something about said other person, and unintentionally, without malice, sharing the information, thinking they're doing something right, but yet and it is not right. Not at all. It's
Oh
just
no,
that.
I'm talking about the ones just sitting there flat
Right.
out talking trash.
Right. And then that was my other one. That's the other guys. And this is what I call two-facers.
Absolutely.
And let me tell you, I get along with so many lovely people of all kinds. But if you're a two-facer, that is the time we are not friends. And
No,
if I find
I got
out you're
you.
a two-facer, we are repelled automatically. Okay.
I rebuke you in the name of Jesus, baby. You need to go on
Yeah.
down the street because Roxy got other things to do.
Two-facers. That's the worst to me. I cannot do that. I can't
Well,
do
see,
it.
the truth don't mind sunshine. It don't matter what truth it is. The truth don't mind sunshine, because if you doing the right thing and being the right kind of person, you shouldn't be having no big secrets. You shouldn't be having no embarrassments of your current life. Not to say that we don't have embarrassments from our past. We all have a past that we're probably not proud of. But from a certain point, it's unnecessary. Love one another. Goodness gracious. I mean, if we can't love one another, what is the point? Hello, compassionate. But
Mm,
if I mean the whole point of us learning and being curious is to learn who we are, what we are, where we come from, and where we pray we're all going.
I was going to comment too on her reply, because she
Mhm.
said no, said person does not even know the other person. This was weird, and I think it was more spiritual. And you are probably right on the nose on the spiritual thing, and I might even bring it up a notch to where you need to look into targeted individuals,
Oh.
and you might need to think about if you might be on said lists. We talk
Mhm.
about lists sometimes and how we all know we're on lists. Yeah. So just bear that in mind with said person, because not everyone is who you think they are sometimes on, and I'll just put it to you that way.
Oh, I got you. This wasn't gossip. This was just private
Hmm.
information. It shouldn't have been known by others. I got you, girl.
Yeah, that sounds to me more like, what I was telling you should look into.
Hmm.
Hmm.
You might
The
need to look into
TI,
it.
the 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 GS, the gang with some, stockings and stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, there's all kind of stuff out there,
The,
and
the gang that wears stockings.
and
There we go.
yeah, the gang that wears stockings. Dang,
Guys.
Shannon, there's a new one for the lexicon, babe. The gang that wears stockings.
Yep.
Lord,
That's a
Lord,
good one.
Malanta, Malanta, Malanta. Shannon, I'm telling you, sometimes I do wish we need to have somebody on the side that just keeps up with our new lexicon words for all these codes that we have to use on here.
Or either that, or we're forced to go back through each and every video and be like, okay, now I gotta write this down.
Well, and Alicia, I'm by no means don't ever think we're making fun of you.
Oh no, no.
My, I don't mind who knows this. My daughter is an officer, and all of a sudden she came home from work one day, and we were alerted that there was something tracking her police car. She had been to the courthouse that morning for court, and we literally had to pack our belongings and go stay somewhere else for a night or two to make sure, because I mean, you arrest bad people. And like, I'd seen a thing or two, and people were like, why are all these ICE agents wearing masks? Because they got families, they got homes to go home to. I mean, they're doing a job. I'm not going to say that 100% of them are doing the best job of their ability, but they're doing a job that
Mm-hmm.
they've been tasked with any kind of officer. But it's a dangerous world out there when, especially as a woman, you have to worry about whether it's safe to go to Walmart after dark.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to keep your eyes open, because you never know when somebody's looking at you, or possibly tracking your vehicle or your phone or anything else. I saw an app this morning and I actually tried it out, and it worked because I was just being nosy curious. But it's an app. You can add it to your phone and some of these other social media apps. Let's just say that you got a friend that uses same said app. You can actually see when they are live and actively talking to another person, like messaging back and forth. Rather
What?
than just a little green light being on, you can say that it'll say that, like Joe 212 is chatting with Karen 1119, whatever their username is. I was like, really? And it's just a backdoor hack to a piece of software to go with social media interfaces.
That's so creepy. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
any of the stockings people, any of those guys, any of them, I
The
have it.
pantyhose. You know what? We'll call them the pantyhose gang.
The pantyhose gang. So
New
we got
lexicon word, guys. Pantyhose gang.
right. If we do, I have videos on the pantyhose gang. There are many videos out there running, spanning from even 15 years back and on, who explain their experiences, catch these pantyhose gang shenanigans on video, confront these guys, and even ones who like to admit that they do it and who they work for and stuff. So, it's out there. I can't give you a specific video because God knows they'll shut us down, as I have found, but I can at least tell you that.
Well, the same people pay for all those nice fancy signs you see at protests are the same people that pay for
Yep.
the pantyhose gang to eat lunch. We'll just
Yep.
say that.
Yep. And I know who they are. I know who you are. Okay, just saying that.
Shannon, are you trying to get us violated again there?
No, I just threw in my soapbox moment. That's all it was. That's all it was.
Get on it, girl.
I
Close
promise.
up at him.
Algorithm. That's it. I promise.
It'll be all right. All right, guys. If you have not subscribed to our channel, the Roxy Files and Children of the Most High, please do so. We are trying to get to 500 subscribers so we can monetize because we don't make a penny off of this other than the love and affection of all of our adoring community out there. We love all you guys and thank you for coming to be with us. All we have is your love and admiration and a hole in our pocket. So we need to get to 500 subscribers if you don't mind. But we do appreciate you coming and being with us. We've been on here about an hour, a little over an hour and a half. We're going to cut it short for the evening or for now, well, an hour and 40 minutes. Shannon's not feeling the greatest, and on the East Coast, it's a little after 9 o'clock. Yeah, we don't want to give YouTube no reasons to be chopping us off at the knees. Us getting started good.
Or creating deep fakes of said content providers.
Absolutely.
Like, yeah.
We will be back Thursday night on Children of the Most High, which is 6:30 Pacific, 9:30 Eastern. Correct, Shannon?
Yes, I believe.
Yes, it's your time zone, woman.
Like, oh, math right now. No.
She was zoned out. Her ADD kicked in, y'all. She was like, squirrel. She was over there.
Well, I'll just say this. I would absolutely 100% love your prayers right now. I'm going through some serious stuff and I need to function. So if I could get some healing prayers sent my way, I sure would appreciate it.
She needs them, guys. She's not feeling well at all. Shannon is propped up on pillows in the bed to make this show with us tonight. And so I thank you for being here, Shannon. We will be back Thursday night with more of the Pluribus general conversation. Lots of giggles. So bring some coffee.
Hey, and thanks to that guy JC for making a little video.
Absolutely. We found our first video this morning where somebody else actually mentioned us and we were like, that was cool.
Thanks for the shout out, man. That was cool, man.
Yeah,
much appreciated.
We're still new to this, guys, but we love all of you. Thank you for being here. We've seen all of you in the crowd. Thank you so much, guys. Y'all come all the time. Share your life. Share your love. Be kind to a stranger. And hug somebody tonight and just tell them to love them. Say your prayers. Stay prayed up. We'll be back Thursday night.